Hi! Happy Tuesday! Today we're talking about discovering asexuality, which, for me, it's a funny topic. I have plenty to say, but that's just kind of it. I mean, there's a lot for me to say, because asexuality has kind of always been there, so it's kind of hard to say too many aha moments. It wasn't just oh, yes, bam, asexuality, that's what it is. It was kind of just there's a few little key points all throughout my life. Well, I'll say key points because those are just kind of little flag moments. Something's different. But for the short version, I really kind of discovered asexuality twice. Once without the name, and then once with the name. And without the name, it was kind of miserable, and with the name, it was a lot better. So I'll go into kind of a little bit of a longer version of how that came to be, but it's still a lot shorter than actually all the points of my life where it's just oh, that seems off or different. Also, I don't know too. Some of it could be asexuality, some of it could be something else entirely. But I did notice, starting even in kindergarten. Yes, in kindergarten it started. I was a very flirtatious person growing up and very popular. And while doing very flirtatious things, I started to notice that a lot of the other kids didn't. They seemed to want more, or seemed to think it was something different than it was. And I mean, it was nothing just out there, but I mean, just teensy bit, just a little bit different. And I kind of noticed this, but not really. I was I don't know, you guys are all crazy. I'm just having fun. That's kind of how I went about it. I was 5. And then, but also during that time, I was, like I said, I was very popular. And when you're popular, you have a few things, actually, that you have to do or have to be part of the in crowd. One of those is liking somebody. And since I did not have anybody that I liked, I spent an enormous amount of time deciding who would be the person I would like. Eventually I narrowed it down for no other reason than the person was nice, and they picked up a pencil for me once, so I figured they would be the one that I liked. So that was kindergarten. We fast forward all the way to about middle school is when anything else I noticed was kind of different. During middle school, I started to get very miserable because all my friends were deciding to talk a lot more than play on the playground, which made me very sad. Not that I didn't like talking, but for the most part, the substance of the talking wasn't even fun for me. It just seemed like we talked about nothing all the time, and I was just I'm so bored. I want to play tag, please let us play tag. And it just kind of got worse and worse all throughout the middle school years till, I mean, eventually we never played outside well, we were always outside, but we never played anymore. We just sat around and talked, and it wasn't as fun. I started to get very sad from that point. But during that time too, there was something that was going on. For my schooling, we started sex ed in 5th grade, and then that continued all the way to sophomore year. And kind of, I guess for about sex and sex ed, I didn't actually know that, people, one of the things, because I really didn't care, which might have been a sign, but I didn't know it was, but I didn't really care, and so I was very confused, because I thought, having sex was just to have babies. I didn't know it was actually recreational at all. I didn't know people did it for enjoyment. And then I also thought you got pregnant every single time. Or, you could get pregnant every single time. So I was just that's dumb. Why would anybody have sex? Just wait till you're married and then you can have kids. Which in retrospect too, like, I feel really bad because I might have made some people feel a little uneasy just because of my ignorance. Um, but then, wasn't, yes, wasn't till my sophomore year that I really noticed asexuality for the first time. There were a lot of other times too growing up, like, I always had to keep playing the game of who do I like, because I'd get asked and I hated never having an answer. Just because they'd look at me and be like, really? You don't like anybody? Who do you like? Like, I don't know, I never thought, I don't care. They would never take those answers very lightly, but eventually when I couldn't say anything, or if I tried to think of somebody, it was usually always based off of, like, if we did the same things or enjoyed talking to them, that was about it. But sophomore year was finally the time when it was like our last year of having sex ed. But I was just so fed up and so confused because I was just like, oh my goodness, this class is the same exact thing. It's been the same exact thing since 5th grade. We know this, alright? I have no idea why we were having this class so much. And it's when that time finally came when, like, I finally just like, I finally asked the question about, like, why are we having this class so much? Oh, cause people have sex and want to have sex. It's recreational, it's something they can do and be stupid about, and so we need to learn it several different times. But then it got to the question for me, and it's just like, well, I've never wanted that. I've never been interested. And also, during that time, it was very, very miserable. That was probably my worst year of my life. And because of that too, just because after finding out that question, then I started to be like, well, okay, wait a second. I would like to have a relationship, but I don't want anybody to not get anything out of the relationship that they'd like, because that's something I'm not interested. So then I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I'll just be a martyr and just be with nobody and just be thankful I have friends. Oh boy, were those fun thoughts. I think it's okay, I can be satisfied with just having friendships. Yeah. So, during that time too, I actually told my dad that, because I would tell my dad pretty much everything. And that's actually one of the only times he's ever raised his voice to me at like an older age. We never fought, we never did any of that until like that point, like, oh hey, I don't think I'm ever interested in sex, ever. And he's like, I hope you have sex and you like it. Which is a weird conversation to have, I think. But, yeah. It was dark times. And so, during that entire miserable year of just thinking that I'm going to have to live and die alone, I finally was like, I guess it got even worse too, just as things went on. I was in plays and stuff like that, and during one point I was in a play where I had to be in love with somebody, or that was like part of the script. I was in love with somebody, and it wasn't showing at all. And it got to a really awkward point where I had a director ask me, just like, come on, haven't you ever been in love with somebody? In front of the entire class, or cast, and I'm just like, I don't know how to answer this. Should I have been? And then she's like, oh my goodness, really? And yes, we're going to continue this in front of my entire classmates. That's, That's always great. I love this. So then it just kind of, I mean, just self-perpetuated into just like, wow, I'm missing something out of life. But I guess that's something else. Like, not really, I've never felt broken from asexuality. I know that's kind of a term that goes out quite a bit, just like, oh, I feel like I'm missing something. I've never felt like I was missing something in that sense. Like, I never thought, like, if I had sex that would make it, like, better, or if I like to have sex that would make my life better. Like, I've always loved the way I lived. I've just figured that some of it was going to be harder than others, and that would be what could make it miserable, just like the fact that I wouldn't have somebody else who felt the same as me. That's what kind of made it miserable, or what I would think is miserable. Like, nobody would know the same joy as I would. So that's pretty much just for that and all that miserable time of when I first discovered asexuality. And so the second time I rediscovered it, asexuality, or really kind of the first time, was during the next year, the very end of the year. I was hanging out with kind of a new group of friends, actually, and we'd been hanging out, and I got asked again the question about, like, who do you like? Like, you have to like somebody, sort of thing. And they're kind of, somebody was pestering me about it, but then I had one friend just like, oh, just leave her alone, she's asexual. And then I was like, what? What is this word? I don't know what this word means, but it sounds awesome. I literally did that, and I was actually kind of accustomed, because they generally threw actually quite a bit of words that I didn't know, and so I'd look in the dictionary. I looked in the dictionary first, which is not the best definition for asexuality, but it is, like, it was, like, perfect enough for me to go, like, oh my goodness, there's onto something here, I can now look this up on the internet. And lo and behold, I did, and then I started crying, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm not alone, blah blah blah, blah, blah. All mushy and just like, yay. I'm not the only one who feels this way, which also in retrospect, like, I mean, you're probably never the only one to think something, but it's still fantastic to have had that name there, just to say, like, oh look, there are other people who think similarly, and so it's all okay. I mean, like, it's not like it made any of the problems easier with asexuality. I still never really felt like I've really met or even connected with too many people that were actually asexual, but it's still a name that just, like, fits everything. It's a very concise name for how everything kind of fits. And that just kind of made it better for me. And I'm still dealing with it, because I mean, it's still only been kind of recent for me that name has just been a thing. Like, I looked up asexuality, but I also was kind of a little scared too at the time of discovering it, of just discovering the name because of other household reasons, but so I'm still kind of just kind of getting to the, like, oh, like, yes, this is what I can do, these are things I like and things I don't like, and it's all okay and it's all awesome. So I still think I'm pretty awkward sometimes, but I'm getting better, and it's really great. I think people ask for, I think the importance of this is that, because people kind of ask, like, why do asexuals have to stand out or make themselves known or that sort of thing, and it's because I didn't have the name, that I felt that I was going to have to die alone, and that it was I was just gonna have to be okay with that. And if I can help eliminate that feeling for hundreds of people just by the fact of asexuality being known, just being known as an option or as like a thing that can be in life, that that for me was like monumental, and so I'd hope that it could help make somebody else's life better as well. So that's really what I feel the importance of it is. Like, you don't have to you don't have to be asexual. Like, you don't really have to know all that much about asexuality if you're not asexual or whatever, but for those people that are, it really does make a big difference. And so I feel that's the importance of it. And so sorry, it kind of got a little heavy, or I don't know. I don't know how this is supposed to go. I never do. I never know how these are supposed to go, but hopefully that makes some sort of sense and was pleasurable. I don't know. I don't know anymore. Hope you have a wonderful Tuesday though, or whatever day this is, because I don't know when I'm getting to this, so bye!